All right, sorry guys, I had you muted. Hopefully you can hear me on Zoom now.
We can hear you.
All right, perfect, thank you. Sorry about that. So I will refresh what I just said. So you're going to log into 21 Online. Once you're logged into 21 Online, you're then going to come over here to the menu, go down to Productivity Hub. And once you have that pulled up from the Productivity Hub, you can scroll down and you will see it's in alphabetical order. You'll get to the Moxie. And so you'll see it's got MoxiEngage, Impress, Present, Talent, which Talent you guys won't have access to or use. That's for the managers to use for recruiting. And then the Moxie website. So really, it doesn't matter which one of these you click on, regardless of if you're trying to get to Engage, Impress, or Present. You can click on any of these and it's going to take you to the same spot. We'll do it for MoxiEngage, but once you click on Learn More, it brings you to here. It says we've got MoxiEngage, and you're going to click right here to access MoxiEngage. So now, like I said, if I was in the websites part, it would have said, click here to access Moxie websites, click here to access Moxie Present or Impress, whatever it is. But regardless, and I don't know why they set it up this way, whatever one you click on, you end up right here. So even if I had clicked on and done the Moxie websites, it would bring me right here. So I don't know why we have all the different, but that's how it's set. Okay. So now that we are here, up at the top is where I'm going to now access to get into the Engage system. Okay. So I click on Engage. And that's going to now log me into the MoxiEngage system. So now as it does this though, let me pause for 1 second, because if you're doing this for the first time, it's going to go through and ask you a few other questions that it's not asking me right now. And so let me just answer some of the questions that you'll need to know as you go into it. So when you the very first time log in, it's going to, first thing it's going to bring up and it's going to ask you to choose your email that you're going to use. And it gives you two options, which really, for most of you, is really only one option. And I'll explain what that means in a second. But it's going to give you the option of selecting Office 365 or Gmail. And if you are using the @C21Everest email as your email address, then you could choose the Office 365. But in Utah, we have very, very few people doing it. We've got a number from California that are on Zoom right now. So welcome to you guys. But for them, okay, I'll come back to your question just 1 second. So if you, for some of the agents in California that are using the @C21Everest, because we have more agents there that actually use that, you could select the Office 365. Outside of that though, you're going to want to select the Gmail. And sometimes people will say, well, what if I don't have a Gmail account? And then the answer is, unfortunately, you're going to have to go get one, because you can't use the system without it being either the Office 365, you're using the @C21Everest, or a Gmail. So in the event, though, that you don't have a Gmail, that you use Hotmail or Yahoo, or I don't know, what do the other people use? AOL. And one laugh from Caesar. I finally convinced my wife to move off of AOL to Gmail, and it was like a happy day for me. I was like, you can't do that. It shows your age. So anyway, if you're using one of those, set up a Gmail and you can forward it to your AOL or whatever, Hotmail, or if you're using Outlook or Mac or whatever, you can set up a Gmail and then just set it up to forward. But in order to use the MoxiEngage system, you're going to have either the Office 365 or the Gmail. And so now back to Lynn's question. Lynn was asking about, can we switch it later? That's a good question that I do not know the answer to. And if you're asking, let's see. And to answer your question on getting to Engage without the 5 clicks, yes. The answer to that one is if you go to engage.century21.com. So if you look up right here, you can type in, oops, you could go just type into your browser engage.century21.com and it'll take you right to the login page and then you're in. So yeah, thanks for asking that, Lynn.
What if you have your own access to Office 365, not related to C21? You just have your own Office 365.
Yeah, I don't think, oh, let me get this recording straight. Except we better slide this or else I'll try to push this. Okay, so if you have your own access, I haven't tried that, so I would say try it and see what happens, but I think it has to be connected with our @C21 Everest in order to use the Outlook 365. But I would say try it and see what happens. If it will connect you, or you could even just down here, maybe even before, you could go to the help desk and ask them if that will work. I just haven't had anybody try it, or at least let me know they've tried it to know if that's going to work. Okay, so hopefully that answered the questions that Lynn had on that. And as far as how to access it, and that works for the Engage system is engage.century21.com. All right, Andy's asking, why would we let Moxie see, edit, download, and permanently delete our contacts? So they're not going to actually delete them from your contacts and stuff that are in your phone. It would just be within the system. So hopefully that answers, Andy, what you were asking. So that reminded me of one other thing. So here's the other thing, as you're going through and doing this, when you connect it to your Gmail account, when you connect it with your Gmail, what's going to happen is it is going to bring all of your contacts in that you have in your Gmail as well. So if you don't want it to do that, meaning you don't want to have, well, one of two things, either go set up a brand new Gmail and forward it to the other one that has no contacts if you don't want it, or go through and clean up your contacts first before you attach it to your Gmail, because as soon as you do that, it is going to bring them in. But then from there, which is kind of what Lynn was asking, is once they are in there, you can go through and delete out the ones that you don't want, and it will remove them out of the Moxie system, but it won't mess with the contacts in your phone. So hopefully that answers. We good?
How did you get to that manager dashboard? Maybe because I'm new or my.
So,
Other corner over here, right?
oh, so sorry, yeah, you won't have manager dashboard. I need to switch this over to Aegis mode. Let me see what you're seeing. Oh yeah, you got to go down to Productivity Hub.
Okay.
And then from Productivity Hub, you'll scroll down to Moxie. Okay, so now that we've done that and we've selected the Gmail or the Outlook 365, whichever you're going to be doing, it's then going to give you a notice that says that it'll take a few minutes and it'll send you an email once all your contacts are uploaded. So depending on how many contacts you have, that could be really fast, like almost instant, or it could take a little while, but typically it's pretty fast of how it's going to do it. The next step, though, after you do that, the next thing that it's going to ask you in the system is to put in your goal for your gross commission income. So you're going to plug in next, what is your goal for GCI that you want to have in the next year? And the reason for that is contained within the system, it will keep track. And you can see as you get closings that take place, and you don't have to do anything with it because it's connected with Century 21 system. As you have closings, it's going to keep track of them so that you could at any time go in here and see, like, are you on track for the goals that you've set as well. So that's why it's asking for a goal. So just put whatever you want as your goal for commissions that you're wanting to earn. Okay. The other thing that it will ask you as well, and it actually might ask you this before it does the goal, can't remember now, but the other thing it's going to ask you is, do you want to migrate any of your contacts over from Zap or Business Builder? And so if you want to do that as well, you could select one of those options, and then it will bring the contacts that you have in Zap or Business Builder over to the MoxiEngage system as well. Okay. All right. Now that we've got that all out of the way, that's, you're only gonna have to do that the first time you log in. After that, every time you come in, it's gonna land you right here on this dashboard. So on the dashboard here, what it's gonna do is I'm gonna first go through and just explain what the dashboard is and how it works. And what some of the advantages I think to using this are. And then from there, then we're going to go through and we'll talk about some of the other features that it has that you'll want to use. Okay. So the first thing is what is this stay and flow. So when you land on your dashboard, it's going to give you this stay and flow. And here's the idea of stay and flow. How often should you be in contact with your sphere of influence? Okay, so good. Minimum 4 times a year. So guess what the system is going to do? The system is designed, the default on it is to offer up to you 5 people from your SOI every day. So every day when you log in, it's going to give you 5 people for you to call from your contacts. And then from there, you could actually even just reach out to them. I could skip it or I can mark it as being done. I can do any of those right from here. But so it's going to offer up 5 people for you every single day that you should contact. So the thing that I like about this system is it is designed to help you succeed. Because if you will just do the 5 contacts that it gives you every day, you're going to then go through and stay in touch with all of the people in, or I should say, stay in flow with, staying in touch, I guess, with them. Okay. Now, in the event you want to change that, though, there's this little gear icon right here. If I click on that, you can see I have the option of setting up the cadence and the people. And so the cadence is how often do you want it to go before it offers that person up to you again. And you can see the default is 90 days, but you could set it as 60 or 30 if you want it as well, to where it would offer up those people to you every 30 days if you wanted to do it that way. Okay. And if you've been through my SOI class, then that's what you should do. And I'm not looking directly at you on purpose, Chad. Yes, I am. Okay. So the next part of this is people. And this is where you're going to decide which groups of people do you want it to offer up. Now, I'll come back to and explain these groups more in just a little bit. But this is where you could come in and change who it's offering you up as well. Okay. And it's pretty bad that we're like 10 minutes into the class and in your faces, I could see you're already glazed over.
Yeah.
So
Already.
hopefully you guys on Zoom are not glazed over. Surfing Instagram or something instead. I don't know. Anyway, the
No,
good
this is great. This is great.
Okay, good. The good news is this is being recorded. And I will throw it up onto our YouTube channel after, so you can go back and review as well. But okay, so that's the stay and flow. As I scroll down, the next thing is the activity feed. So this is going to show you about the activity that's going on with your account. And so you can see that on mine, it's showing me, and we'll come back and I'll explain this neighborhood news, because if you don't do anything else that we talk about today, you got to do the neighborhood news.
It's the only reason I'm here.
Is it? Okay, good. So neighborhood news, you can see it's showing the system sent one out for me on the 29th, one on the 28th, one on the 25th. And so at 3 on the 16th, 1 on the 15th. So this is just going to give you whatever activity is going on. Now, same thing with this. If I click on this gear icon, what it can do is decide what information do I want to track. Do I want to track the website activity, email activity, presentation activities, automated activities, and how often? Like, so I've got it showing for the past month, all the activity that's gone on. Okay. So you can decide on that there. The next thing down is this to-do list. The to-do list is just going to be as you add tasks into the system, and I could add one from right here if I wanted. I just click add task. It's going to bring it up, and then I could put in a task there to call somebody or whatever I want to do. Okay. So you can put tasks in on this as well. And then down here is going to show your calendar. So any events and things that you have going on in your calendar will show up there. So appointments, stuff like that. And then the next thing is this sales flow. So on the sales flow, I'm going to explain it to you, but it's going to make sense in a little more sense in a little bit. So I'll refer back to it, but I at least want you to see it. So the idea of this sales flow is, think of this as being like your funnel. of people that you're working with. And so this marketing section here is how many people do you have in the system that you are intentionally wanting to market to? And when I say market to, think of it as people that you're hoping to get business from. Okay. So you can see that I've got 37 in there. Well, then what's going to happen is throughout your marketing to them and staying in contact with them, some of them are going to let you know, hey, we're starting to think about buying or something. If somebody's starting to think about it, you would want to move them into the prospect part of this sales flow. And then as they then become an active client, they've either listed their property, they've signed a buyer broker, you're out showing properties, you would move them to the active. And then once the property goes under contract, it would go to pending. And then after that, it would go to close. Once it goes to close, it'll show up under here under your goals completion to where whatever your income goal is here, it'll show you how close you are on track to hitting that goal. Does that make sense? Okay. So I'll come back and I'll explain this marketing prospects, actives, and positive pendings a little bit more once we get into the people side of things. But just wanted to make sure you know where that is here. The goal completion we just talked about, and then down here, it's going to have any active or pending listings would show up, and then your sold properties will show up here as well. Okay. So that's the dashboard. The main thing you're going to want to use on the dashboard is really two main things, but as I said, you might want to look at all of it. But the main thing is, here's the 5 people you should call today. Like the system is designed, if you'll just do what it tells you to do, just call the people. When it shows up, it says call them. If you'll call the 5 people, I promise you, you'll do deals. So I had an agent that I met with earlier this week that I asked them, how much are you staying in contact with your sphere of influence? And they were like, I'm not doing a very good job with it, which I suspected. That's the problem with most agents is they don't. And so I said to him, do you want me to help you get your SOI working? And he said, yeah. And I said, I'll just charge you 20%, pay me 20% off, like, which of course he's not going to do. But I said, if you are not going to call your SOI, then let me coach you on it. Let me hold you accountable and pay me 20%. So we were kind of joking about it. And the next day, though, he texted me and said, I called through, and I can't remember how many people he said he called, but he got 2 leads from just calling through like 5 or 6 people in his SOI. So if you're not working your SOI, get them in here and then just call the 5 people that show up every day. And I promise you, you'll do more business if you're not calling your SOI. Okay. All right. So that, and then the other thing that you want to use with this is just to keep an eye on the activity that's going on there. So really that's the main thing is every day come in, call the 5 people that are on there, scroll down to see who's being active on your site and doing things. And then from there, that you're probably good. Like you can essentially be like, all right, that's all I need to do once you get everyone set up. All right, next, let's go into the people section. So the next part of this is the so I'm going to go to people, my people right here. Okay. So once I get into the people, my people, what it's going to bring up here is everybody that I have in the system. So you can see it's showing I've got 524 people in here. Now, most of the people, because this just pulled in all my contacts, most of the people that are in here are agents. So I'm not going to, I don't want to have all 524 of the people that I have in here in that marketing section. Remember back here on the dashboard, who are the people that you're marketing to? Down here under sales flow. Well, I don't want to have, for me, I don't want to have all 524 because the majority of those people are real estate agents, and I'm probably not going to get a deal from them. So I'm not going to worry about that. Okay. But here's what you're going to want to do. So remember, the idea of this is how do I get what we're doing today is 1 is how do I get it set up, and then 2, how do I start using the system? So once you get the people into the system, the next thing you're going to want to do is go to this people, my people, and then from here, it's got this categorize wizard here. You're going to want to click on categorize wizard. What that's going to do is that's going to bring up, it's a way for you to categorize all the people you have in the system, but you can do it at a much faster rate than going through each individual person. So, for example, this is bringing up and showing this, this is my Well, a relative, anyway, it doesn't matter. So clearly, this is not going to be somebody. Well, he's dead. Let's say that. I'm probably not gonna want to market to him, okay? It's my great grandpa. Okay, so, and you might be going, why do you have your great grandpa in there? And it's a long story, but this is his wife too, so they're both in there. But anyway. What you want to do though is you want to just take the people and go, okay, is this somebody that I think I'm gonna get business from? And if the answer is yes, select that they're a client. If the answer is no, so I already told you, this is my great grandpa, he's dead. Okay, I'm probably not gonna get business from him. So I'm gonna say he's not a non-client. Well, so is it a personal contact, a collaborator, or should I remove him from Engage? Well, I don't need him in Engage for any reason. So I'm just gonna say remove, okay? So from here, remove it from Engage, yes. And then I would do the same thing with her, non-client. I don't want her in Engage, okay? So the next, Carter Chapter. So this one is, maybe this is one that I do want to hold on to. So I would just say, okay, yeah, I want to have him as a client, okay? So I'm going to click. So now the next option is, do I want to make him create a marketing plan for him, make him a seller prospect or a buyer prospect? Now, remember, the whole reason I showed you that sales flow is so that when we got to this, it would make sense. Remember on the sales flow, we had marketing, prospects, actives, pending. Well, essentially what this is asking is, do I want to make him in the marketing section? Do I want to put him as a prospect, either a seller or a buyer prospect, or should I go back? Well, for me, he's not, remember the prospect is defined as somebody who is like expressed, yes, I'm thinking about it. So think of it as the creating a marketing plan is where you want to put your SOI people. The prospects are people who have said, we're thinking about it. We might do it in a year. If you came across a good property, whatever, like it's somebody who's expressed some interest versus the creative marketing plan is just, these are people I want to try to create some interest in. Follow me? Okay. So I'm going to just say on him, create marketing plan. Well, then it asks, is he a past seller, a past buyer, a past seller and buyer, or none of these? Well, he hasn't been a client for me, so it's none of these. Okay. So then what do I want to do? Create the plan. So essentially what you're going to want to do is once you get the people in here is go through them and do all of this, where I would come up with chat, say, is he a client or not a client? And like I said, most of these people are agents that I don't want in here. Let me see if I can find. So this would be good. So this one is a guy that's a neighbor of mine. So I'm going to say he's a client. He's not thinking of buying or selling at all that I know of. So I'm going to create a marketing plan. He hasn't been any of these and create the plan. So essentially that's what you want to do is go through everybody and either get them out of the system if you're not going to want them in there. Like, for example, some of you guys in California will know who this is. So I'm going to say, you know, it's a non-client, remove from Engage. Because I'm not going to be trying to market to her. So you following me of what? So what you want to do then is once we've got the system, the people in, now we want to go categorize it. And up here at the top right, it's showing me that I've got 39 people in the sales flow process. Okay, go ahead.
And maybe I missed this at the beginning when I walked in. How did you upload 524 people to your system?
So because that's who I have already in my phone, when I attached it to my Gmail, it just pulled everybody from my phone and put it. So yeah.
So it was a merge from your phone.
Yep.
Automatic.
Correct. Because I have it connected with my Gmail account. Yep. All right. So that's what you're going to want to do is whatever however many people you have in there, the people that you have in there, you would want to go through and say, so Christopher Jensen is the president of Inspiro. So I'm probably not going to be marketing to him either, although I should. I got some great stories about getting deals from the ancillary services that nobody else has ever asked them for, but that's a different class that I'll share with you. So, all right, so you go through and get all the people categorized, okay? So that would be the next step of this. Once I've got the people all categorized, then the next step that I want to do is come back to this people, my people. So again, people, my people. And it's going to load all of the people in here. And I had like 524, right? And now I have 520. It's because I went through and got cleaned up, got rid of some of those other people. So the next thing that from here that you can do that you may or may not want to do. So this piece, I'm going to tell you about it. You may or may not want to do it, but is you can set up groups. So you see I've got this edit groups here. And if I click on that, you can set up different groups so that you could put the people in various groups if you wanted. And then I just have thrown in some just random things like if you people that I wanted to invite to, we've got the pumpkin patch coming up like in a week and a half or something like that. So you could create one of, okay, I want to create one called Pumpkin Patch, a group, and then anybody that I would want to invite to that, I'm going to throw in that group or whatever. I mean, just whatever you would want to do. You could create a group for these are the people that live in a certain city or people that you met at a certain function, like whatever you want to do. Create as many groups as you want, add people to as many different groups. There's no limit on any of that, okay? So that would be potentially the next thing you would maybe want to do. And then after that, the next thing we're going to do is let's go to, I'll come down here to this contact. So the next thing I'm going to want to do is go through the contacts and get them set up on neighborhood news. Now, one of the things this system does have that I want to point out to you guys that it does have, you'll see up at the top here, it's got campaigns, but the campaigns that are in there right now are just, they're okay. This is probably what I would say. They're fine. But for me, the best thing you could do with these people is get them set up on neighborhood news. And if I go back to when I first started in real estate, so a long time ago, when Kenzie was first born, it's probably about right. Because Douglas was just born when I started real estate. So when I first started, we had a guy that came to our office trying to sell Top Producer, which back then, the programs, you would buy the floppy disks and you would take them and load them onto your computer and you'd put the software program on there versus it being just on the internet now like this is. And the guy was there trying to sell us it. And he said, I'm going to give you the best idea for your sphere of influence and none of you are going to do it. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, I'm doing it. I don't care what it is, I'm doing it. And then he laid out what he thought was the best thing to do, which is essentially what neighborhood news does now. And is what he said to do. And I went through and started doing it. And I will tell you, it is the best thing you can do with your sphere of influence. And so for me, yes, there are campaigns in here, but the best thing you can do for your sphere of influence is put them on neighborhood news because they're going to be interested in the information that it provides to them. Okay. All right. So let me show you how to do that. So I'm going to click here on Vern. And what that's going to do is you can see on there that showed that he was a past seller. Now, so once I've clicked on it, it's taken me into his contact information. And if I had marked him before, which I have marked him as into that marketing part of the sales flow, it's going to show up right here. So if I had not done that, let me go back to the results and find one that I didn't so I can just show you the difference. If I have not set them up on that, then it's going to give me the option to within there as well. So if I just click on this Vincent here, you can see it looks a little bit different. It doesn't have, well, actually, I did set him up as a collaborator, so that's not quite right. Hang on. Let me get to a different one because that's still not. Okay, yeah. So from here, because I have not done anything with them, once you go into the contact, you could also just choose, oh, he is a client or he's a non-client. If I say client, it's going to give you that same option. Put him on a marketing plan, past seller, whatever. Okay. So you can't, that's the other way you can do it. So I could either do the categorize wizard or I could click into it and set it up from here. So either way you want to do it. If you're going to go through and get the people set up on neighborhood news anyway, you might want to just go through and do it each individual person like this. But from here, the way I would move somebody from that marketing section to be a prospect. So let's say I call up Vern, I'm talking to him on the phone and he goes, yeah, we're tired of our house and we'll probably sell it next summer. then I would say, okay, great. I want to move him from being a marketing person to this prospect. So if I click right here, make him a prospect, then it's going to bring it up. And is he going to be a buyer or a seller? So I'm going to say he's going to be a seller. Do I have an MLS number already? No, I don't for that. So there's nothing that way. And then I could come down here and look at if he was going to be a buyer as well, what's the target price range, bed, bath, are there people associated with him, which, let's just throw in, I think I have him in here. Oh, I don't. I guess he's not here. Never mind. All right, you could, if you had a spouse or something, you could throw them in there as well. And then I could put any other additional details in there, and then I would just click done, which I'm going to do that for the sake of cuts. We'll just get him in. All right, so now you can see he's in this prospect. And if I wanted to move him to the active, which let's say that now we fast forward and it's March, and he's like, yeah, let's start looking for a property. Then I could move him to this active zone by just clicking on that as well. Okay, and then or I could delete or deactivate the transaction. Yep. All right, so that's how you're going to move people through that sales flow process is up here. Next thing is the profile. So here's where I would control any of the phone numbers, email addresses, home addresses, all that kind of stuff that I might want to keep track of would be right there. If I want to type in notes, I could come to right here and click on this edit and type in some notes about them. Activity was where I would see any activity that's gone on. So it shows that I did a phone call in June, which I really didn't do, but. And then any favorites or saves would be down here as well. But the main thing I want to show you guys is the subscription. So this is where we want to get them on Neighborhood Marketplace. So like I said, so let me pause for a minute. I said to you guys 5 minutes in that you were already glazed over. Now's the time to wake up and pay attention if you're not, right? This is the part, because if you don't do anything else, get your people in the system, get them set up on the neighborhood news, okay? So Chad, this is what you came for. This is what here we go. All right. So down here is subscriptions. So I'm going to click on add subscriptions, and you have two options. The options are neighborhood news, which is where we're going to spend most of our time talking about. The other option is listing announcements. Listing announcements, at least to me, I think is a little confusing. Like when I hear that, well, when you guys hear it, what do you think it is if you haven't read what it says? What does it sound like it is?
Like it's my listings.
Oh,
Like
okay.
I'm announcing my listings.
Well, you're right. So I guess it's just me then.
No, I assumed that would be any new listings in that parameter that you're setting.
Yeah, that's what I would think too. So Duvon, you were right. I was
Well, the only reason is because this is my sphere of influence. And so
Right.
I'm going to be talking about things I do
yeah.
with them.
Yeah. So just kind of know that listing announcements would be where you would go to set up if you wanted it to say to that person, I just listed a house or I just sold a house. It will send out announcements to them every time you do that, if you put them on listing announcements, okay? All right, so that's the extent of listing announcements. Here's neighborhood news. So I'm going to click on add subscription. Once I click on that, you have two options. I can either do a quick or a custom. The quick, you're just going to put in the zip code that they're in, and then it'll send them information about the zip code. My personal preference to you, so let me go back again. Remember I said about the guy from Top Producer showed up in my office in like 1997, and so you were born by the Kenzie, but so he showed up in my office in like 1997, and he said, if you'll do what I'm about to tell you, it's the best thing you could do. Well, essentially what he said to do is go send them properties for the neighborhood that they live in. And so that's my recommendation. So instead of doing the quick zip code search, which is just going to give them the whole zip code, which again, depending on the size of the zip code, that could be a lot of properties, and that'll be overwhelming for them. And they probably don't care about everything in their whole zip code. So instead, what I recommend, and which by the way, that's really easy. You just click go. You're going to type in the zip code right here, the email address, and boom, you're good. Okay. But to do the custom is what I would recommend that you do. So if you click on custom, what it's going to do is going to bring up a map. And it brought up this map based on the at the zip code of where I had his home address, so it brought up the zip code as a default anyway. But I don't want that. And actually, quite honestly, I realized as I pulled up his contact information, I helped him already sell that house and he bought a new one, and I don't have this correct address in here, so I need to fix that. But what you would want to do then is I would want to go to where they live. So they live actually now out in the Harriman area. So I would want to pull up on the map and say, okay, I actually don't want to give them like a whole entire zip code, and I don't want the 84081. So instead, I'm going to pull up and just say, okay, let's kind of go to this area, and I'm going to just click on draw, and then I'm going to do the multi-draw. So you can go do a quick draw or multi-draw. And then I'm just going to say, okay, I want it to send in properties. This multi-draw, as you can see, I could just kind of draw it wherever and go however I want it to go. And then just get back here and double click. So now you can see it's brought up. Here's the properties that it's brought up, which so really for me, that's even still too many. Like the ideal scenario of what you would want to do really with this, so I'm going to clear it, is I would say ideally you more want to identify more like a little bit of just like a neighborhood or something. So maybe I say I want them to get the properties that are showing up in this area here. And the reason for that being, see, that's not going to be too overwhelming. And if they live right in this area, which I don't really know that I'm in the right areas, but if they live right in this area, they're gonna be curious. They're gonna be driving by these properties daily and seeing them and all that kind of stuff. But you'll notice then it's gonna give to them, here's the actives, the solds, and if there are any pendings, they would show up as well. But it looks like there's not on this one where I just drew. Okay. So once I've identified the area that I want it to send them the properties in, I'm just going to click next. It's now going to ask me, is this the zip or it's not zip code, email address you want it to go to? And if for some reason you had more than one in here, it would give me a drop down and I could select which email address I wanted it to go to. Okay. So I make sure the email address is good. I click next. It's now going to bring up to show you, here's an email preview and here's what the full report is going to look like. Okay, so let me let it load here, which for some reason it's being kind of slow. So now that it's pulled it up, this is what the preview of the email is going to look like, is as I scroll down, when they get the email, it's going to show them, here's the properties that are active or sold. And here's the good news. So for those that have been through the classes that I taught about ZAP, where in ZAP, I was always like, you got to use home value updates, got to use home value updates. This is better than home value updates. And the reason being that in ZAP, so anybody, if you are using ZAP, only will send them the actives. This one now will send them the solds as well, which that's huge because people are always interested in what did it sell for. But so when you send it to them, it's going to show, here's some properties that are in that area that I drew on the map. And if they want to view more, they can click it here. The other thing is it's going to give to them is here's the trends in the surrounding area. So here's the number of listings that are active, how many of them have sold, the median price. So it gives them just tons of information. So that's what the email will look like when it's sent. Okay. So from there, I would just do send to Vern, which I probably should have really actually checked to make sure I was in the right area, but I'll go back and fix it.
Can you do multiple neighborhoods?
Yes, great question. Can I do more? So yes, so right here, the next thing, so let me show one other thing first. So now that I've put him on neighborhood news, when I come here, you can see it's got an active subscription. It's got his email address. It was a custom boundary and it sent it on November 6th. So, or sorry, October 6th. So it will send next again on a month from. So whatever day you set them up, every day that month. So today, October 6th, November 6th, December 6th, January 6th, it's going to send that report to me. Does that make sense? Okay. So yeah, so now what Suzanne was asking, if I wanted to add another one, I do add new and I say I want it to be a custom. So if somebody had investment properties and they wanted to keep an eye on it, I could go and do that same thing. Just draw it on the map. And by the way, I didn't point this out before. you could filter it down too, so. You could actually create it to where it's more like a CMA. So let's say that maybe in this area, I wanted to send him for that whole zip code. But I only wanted him to see properties that had a minimum of 4 bedrooms and 3 baths. And I might even want to filter it down to more of saying, yeah, I don't want multifamily manufactured townhomes or condos, but I want to have the square footage to be a minimum of, 1,000 and no more than 2,000 or something. I don't know, whatever you want to do. Maybe let's do 2,003. So if you went in and did it that way, now you can see that's way reduced the number of properties that it's going to send out to them. So you could go through and do that to where you filter it down to have it showing more same size of their property, same beds, baths, whatever.
There was a question on that.
Oh, thank you.
And do you think this is better than using the MLS to do it?
Good question. So do I think it's better to use this over the MLS? Here's how I think about it. I think yet for the people who are in the marketing part of that sales flow that I'm just trying to hope to get business from, this is better.
Oh, yeah, because it's not a client, it's just.
That's right. I'm just trying to give them information about the area. And here's the other thing that I learned that I didn't realize. Remember, I said this guy from Top Producer said it was the best idea ever. What I figured out later on is when you send this and they see all these properties, they assume you sold them, or you are the listing agent, you are the buyer's agent, whatever. Like they think, oh wow, you sell every house in my area, which I didn't realize that's what was going to happen when I started doing this. But that is what happens, is they assume these are all your transactions. So you become the market expert for their neighborhood in their mind. Yeah. All right, let's see. Yes.
Does it show the price it sells for?
Let's go back on it. We'll check that. I can't remember if it does or not. So let me answer this other question. We'll do this. So Gene's asking, can you add a second email to that search for another family? So I don't believe you could set it up to have going to 2 emails, but you could set up a second neighborhood news with the other email address on there. So okay, so yeah, let's take a look at that and see on this. So I don't remember if it does show the sold price or not. It's slow and low.
Give us the list price.
Well, I know on the, before it was showing the list price. And it's not letting me click on the view longer. So I don't know, I'll have to check on that and see. I would assume this should be the sold price. 692.5. Let me cancel back out of here and let's.
Hey Russ, if you have a husband and wife that both want the property reports, do they have to be separate entries, or within, let's say, the husband's contact entry, you can add the spouse and they both will get it? Or do you have to have separate entries, one for the husband, one for the wife?
No, you could do it. So you would have to do either 2 separate contacts like you're saying, or put both email addresses into one contact. But then, like I said, you'd have to set up a second neighborhood news to be sent to the other email address. So either way you want to do it, I would probably say set them up as 2 separate contacts. And the reason being is that way, if they go in and start searching and stuff, you'll be able to see who's doing the searching. Is what my recommendation would be.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let me get this back to where it was. See if we can see that same property. Oh, I didn't pay attention to the address. Did anybody?
Didn't show the
It was
address.
like 692.5 though, wasn't it? I think it was this one. Well, let's just pay attention. Let's see.
Right there, so.
Okay, so it doesn't show itself.
It doesn't show it right here, but I'm thinking when I went to the next, so let's
Yeah.
just look, keep an eye on this picture here.
I was just wondering.
See if it's the
can
same.
we not-
Can we not?
we not-
No, we- Because they've given us, they give us permission to put it on the MLS. I believe that we can, it's because essentially it's like we're doing a CMA for them. No, that was a different house, so. I don't know, I'll play with it and see what I can find out on there, but, so I'm not positive on that. All right, we good on neighborhood news?
Can people, let's say I send it to 100 of my prospects, people that I know, can they unsubscribe?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, they can, every email that it sends to them, it'll give them the option. Here's what I've found though, very few people are gonna unsubscribe to this. Versus if you just do a regular email campaign thing, they might be like, yeah, I'm not, I don't really care. But people care about, like, no, if, when they see, hey, this is showing the properties in the neighborhood. They care about it. So like I set my wife up on the Zap one. I don't know if I've set her up on this one yet. I think I have. But she's one that would go and unsubscribe and stuff, or at least complain and tell me, quit sending me that. And she looks at it all the time. Like there's been many a time where we're talking and she'll be like, did so-and-so's house really sell for X amount? Or did they really list their house for this price? And I'll be like, yeah, how did you know?
Can we see statistics on who opens the email? Who,
Yep.
is that something that we can see here?
Yeah, so you'll get an email with a report that shows like the activity you've had on it. And then from there you can click on it as well. And on that dashboard where it showed the activity, it'll show you on there as well. So yeah, great question. All right, next thing then on this. So from here, the next piece of this is like, okay, now what do I, as I'm calling the people, how do I keep track of things? So let's go back, I'm gonna go back to this stay in flow. So let's say that that I called and talked with Drew here, okay? So I've got two different options here. I can just skip it, I can mark it done, or I got more than two options, I guess. But I can call it. So let's say I'm gonna click on this call. So it's gonna give me the option, if you're set up on your computer, you could actually make the call right from the system as well. Or I just do it on my phone, okay? So now I make the phone call to him and I talk to him. Right here is where I'm gonna put in, it'll automatically put in the date, time, just by default. It's got the date, today's date and the time. So as long as it was today and it was a phone call, you know, I could do it as a text message, however you want to keep track of it. Then right in here, I just would put in the notes that I'm doing and come down here and log and complete. So you'll notice as soon as I do that, it puts a check mark next to him and it takes away the different options down here. So every day you can just go through and just call those 5 people and same thing. If they have an email address in on their contact, which I don't know if I have any for the communities. If I had an email address in there, then it would give me that option is to send an email from right here as well. So I come in here, do the call, log it, put it in there, and then check the box, okay? So that's how you're gonna just keep track of the stuff. The other thing is, like I said, if you wanted to put reminders in there to remind yourself about different things, whatever, that's how you do it, okay? The next thing on here then is the calendar, which the rest of this we're gonna go really fast on. But is I can click on this for the calendar and have decide if I want it to show birthdays, anniversaries, if I have all those things in here, houseversaries, transaction details, any of that information. And then you could see it actually is brought up even just my Google Calendar as well on here. So anyway, that's the calendar section. The goals is where again you would go to keep track of your goals. On here it'll show you the number of transactions, all of this detail about it as you do transactions. And then the final thing is just the campaigns, which again, there are some in here, but honestly, just do the neighborhood news. Don't, Like that is the best campaign you could do for your people. Put them on the neighborhood news because they care about that. If you want to set up some other ones, you can go through here and add from the library and pull up to see what they have available. But at this point, Century 21 nationally hasn't put a whole lot in there. So even if they do, though, I'm telling you, I'm going to keep saying just do the neighborhood news because they care about that. It's the information that's going to keep you top of mind. But there are the different things available. Looks like they've added some few, so that's good. So they have some White Shoes Century 21, some of those things for sale by owner. So they've added quite a few. That's great.
Are these campaigns a one-off, like you just do the campaign, you send it to X amount of people and it's not a monthly thing, it's just a one time?
Typically, no, they're gonna be a
Recurring.
monthly kind of a thing for a certain period of time, and it's probably gonna vary. So like on this one, there's 5 different things that it would send out. So you can see there. Yeah, you can see it
Oh,
go
so you have a schedule.
on these days. But I'm telling you, just do neighborhood news. Don't, if you want to do these, do them but do neighborhood news. Because they want to subscribe for
Yeah,
that.
it almost seems like the neighborhood news would kind of make you the local expert.
Yeah.
type thing in the market.
Yeah. And part of where I learned that piece of it too was at one point, my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, so my wife's sister, they were thinking about selling their house, and I went over to their house to talk to them about it. And while I was there, they were like, "Oh, we wanted to show you this thing that came in the newspaper." So this was a long time. So they open up the newspaper and they pull out this insert that an agent that I know had put in there. And all it said is, here's the homes that have sold in your neighborhood. And they were like, this guy sells a ton of houses in our neighborhood. And I was like, no, he doesn't. I know him. He doesn't sell it. He's just showing you, here's the houses that have sold. And then that's when it kind of clicked for me that, because I had already been doing this newsletter that I had been sending out. And it clicked for me that people assume when I'm sending out that newsletter that I sold all those houses. And yeah, they call you up and just, hey, you sell everything in our neighborhood. So yep, you're right.
With the neighborhood news, can you use it as a text message format? Or is it just email?
It's just an email. Yeah, you can't send it.
Does this one have a group text message or where you can send things out or no?
I don't believe that, I haven't seen it, so I don't think it does have a text capabilities. All right, well, that's all I've got for you for today. So,
There's another question in the.
oh, thank you. Another question in the chat box. What about birthday emails that are sent out? Can we automate those if we have their birthday in the contact? I believe you can, Shannon. I think if you put the contact in there, but then I think you have to do that through the campaigns. Is you could go create a campaign. In the campaigns, which that might be a good idea where using the campaigns, you could go create an email that does basically have happy birthday and and then set it to go on the day of their birthday. And potentially you might want to do that for like a home anniversary too of that. So
That's in the library. The home anniversary.
it does have one in there already.
Yeah, birthday and.
Oh, perfect. So it's already got them in there.
It's in the library.
All right, let's see. And then Jared's asking, does the website have lead capture? I don't believe that it does. Somebody else asked me that and I have poked around in there and have not found it. But I'm surprised actually that it doesn't, because you would think that it would have that, but I have not found where where you would want to market it and it forces people to sign up on it. I think is kind of what he's asking, but I don't believe there is a forced sign up anywhere out there.
Up there, it says my website. Can you, what is it about? Like, does it create a website for you within Moxie or?
So yeah, I'm gonna do a separate class on that, but I'll show you real quick on this. Yes. So if I click on the my website, you already have one. So it already has created one for you. I've gone in and customized mine a little bit. But so now I went from this is MoxiEngage. As soon as I clicked on website here, it's taken me now to the Moxie website. And up here, all of you have one already. If you just click on this visit site right here, it'll show you here's what your website looks like. Now, I've modified mine a little, so yours won't look exactly like this. But But essentially, yeah, this is what you have a website, this is what it already looks like. I added this open houses this weekend, so you won't have that. But I'll show you in a separate class how to do all that.
Does that have like any input, like for people to sign up and add them to your Moxie?
I don't think it has a forced sign up anywhere.
Yeah.
So if somebody were to come in here and do a search,
Yeah,
they can sign up, yes, but it's not a forced sign up. So like, let's say somebody came in and saw this $9.9 million house.
Yeah.
Which in California, you guys are gonna look at that and be like, what? That should be like 30 million. But move from California to Utah, just leave the politics. If you like governors, if you don't, then you can come. All right, hopefully they're laughing. I know you guys don't get it, but. All right, so from here though, yeah, if somebody came and just said, you know, they wanted more information on it, schedule a showing. They could fill out this form and then that would add them, but so there's not a forced registration. So you could market it and people could sign up, but it's not like a lead capture where you're gonna force them to sign. Yes. All right. Thanks for being here. That's it.
Yeah.
So next week, no classes on Tuesday because we've got Elevate. So if you're not signed up for that, make sure you get signed up. That's on Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday's class we'll do, I think is Foundation of Business Planning. So anyway, so if you're not signed up for Elevate, make sure you get signed up.
Thank you.
Okay, see you. Oh, there might be another question or two. Nope, this thing. All right.
Are you Cheryl? Share?